exposed a lot. Why was that?
Nataka kuelewa kwa nini hizi milango zote zilikuwa zimefungwa.
Kila Mungu alikutegemea kuangalia jana mwaka wa usalama
On every floor, everyone was concerned about their safety. So around 10 o'clock, they will lock because of thieves and for their safety. That's why they were locked.
I understand, thank you. Why was it not possible to unlock them?
Kwa nini haingeweza kufunguliwa?
Sijajua kutokea katika nilijua kwamba hata yupo mtu ambaye mbele yako ambaye anakuonekana akifungua tena kufungua kwa ile kule.
I don't know. Maybe there was one person who had a key. In each floor, they had their own person who had a key.
Certainly. When you got out of the building, what was happening on the street?
Wakati ulitoka kwenye hiyo nyumba, nini ilikuwa inatendeka hapo kwenye barabara?
Mtu tayari ushashika baadhi ya wote mtaani ambao karibu ndio shaka.
When I got out already, the fire had really engulfed the building and everyone had already woken up even from other buildings. So we were witnessing when people were jumping off the building from the 3rd floor and the 2nd floor. So we looked for phones to call the fire department because there were people on the roof, on top of the building, and some wanted to jump, but we're telling them to wait for the fire department.
How many people were on the street? How many people had gotten out approximately?
Unaweza sema watu walikuwa kama wangapi hivi kwa barabara hapo nje? There were many.
Maybe. And how long did it take the fire department to arrive after you'd called them?
Unaweza sema ilichukua wazima moto kama dakika ngapi hivi kufika pale?
Muda kati tunawapigia sababu sisi tulichelewa kuwapigia tunapigia nimekuja muda kati tunapigia haikuchukua dakika nyingi.
Because we were a little bit confused once we got there, it took us time to call them. But once we called them, it took them a few minutes. Not too long.
Not too long. What did you lose in the fire?
Ulipoteza nini kwa huo moto?
Ndio nao hiyo. Nilipoteza vitu vyote kutoka nilitoka. Kwa maanisha kwa kile kwa matatu shaka moto ndio mwisho ndio kutoka kuchukua chochote. Nilipoteza vitu kwa mtazamo
I lost everything. I was among the last people to leave my floor. I lost my passport, everything. I didn't have time to save anything.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Pole sana. Thank you.
What, on the day, what did you think was causing the fire?
Siku hiyo unaweza sema ni nini haswa ilifanya huo moto uanze ama ilianzisha huo moto?
Watu tupunguze kutulia, watu wengi tunapiga story, watu ikawa wanasema kwamba moto umeanzishwa na mshumaa. Baadhi wengine walisema mshumaa huwezi kuleta moto kama huo, kutokana kulikuwa na watu walijitahidi kuzima moto lakini ilishindikana. Ungekuwa ni moto mshumaa ingewezekana.
Once we got out of the building, we were out there with a lot of people just talking, and people started saying probably it was started with by a candle, but we're thinking it cannot be a candle, because if it was a candle, it could have been easier to put it off. But because many people tried to put off the fire, we just said it could not be a candle.
Please, could you expatiate on what happened in the days after the fire?
Unaweza tueleza nini ilifanyika baada ya huo moto, kwenye siku baada ya moto, nini ilitendeka?
Kwa moto mpaka siku yake kwa ajili ya vitengo tofauti tofauti vya serikali kama faya, vitengo kile vya hospitali tunafanya kazi yao pale, na kaja watu wengine wanaweza kuandikisha ambao itapeleka vile kempu mbalimbali.
So afterwards, there were different departments from the government. There was a fire department. There were people from the hospital who came, and after that, we moved from there to Hoffman, which was like a camp in Bez Valley.
Why did you decide to go to Hoffland?
Kwa nini ulienda huko Hoffland?
Nilikuja kitengo fulani kutuandikisha pale kabla ya kufika kule, wanaambia mwezi mkaa mwingi inabidi yeye niende sehemu ambayo kempu ambayo mtatulia, hamna matatizo. Walikuwa kama kila siku wanakuja pale kutupa kama usia kushawishi kwenye kundi kwetu tusilale nje.
There is a department of an organization that came to tell us we need to go and live there, not stay outside or stay homeless. There's a place where we could be taken there. So they came and wrote down our names. Yeah, they came and wrote down our names, and they're the ones who kept telling us to move.
Just to confirm that this was a government department.
Hii ilikuwa walikuwa wametoka serikali.
Kujua lakini kipindi tuko pale Offline Peki walikuwa wengi ndio waona pale ni City of Johannesburg. Ndio kwa tunadimia kwenye kipindi.
Okay, I can't be sure, but once we got to Hoffland Park, it was the City of Johannesburg. They are the ones who were writing more about us, but I can't be sure.
And the department that you dealt with, were they aware of the fact that you come from Tanzania or that you are not South African?
Wale wenye walikuwa wanasaidia kuandikisha walikuwa wanajua wewe umetoka Tanzania.
Wanajua. Walikuwa kuandikisha na tudile pia. Umetokea wapi?
Yes, they knew, because when they were registering us, they would ask us where we come from. So they knew I'm from Tanzania.
Did you feel safe to go to Hoffland? And them knowing that you were a foreigner, did you feel as though it was going to be a safe space for you?
Unafikiria kama kwenda pale Hoffland ulikuwa mahali pa utakuwa sawa, safe, ama ulikuwa unaona aje ukienda pale?
Kwa muda ule kutokana na ile siku ya kwanza ya asubuhi moto ulivyokuwa, mimi sikuenda kuingia pale nje, sema nitaona siwezi kukaa nje wakati tushaambiwa sehemu ilipo nzuri. Kwa muda ule kwa sina njia, sina jinsi, ilibidi niende.
Okay, at first I slept on the street just outside of the building, but later on I thought that place was better. On the second day, I thought that place might be better. So that's when I decided to go there. Because I can't sleep just being homeless.
Why did you sleep on the street at all? Why did you sleep on the street at the beginning?
Kwa nini ulilala nje siku hiyo ya kwanza?
Na kwa siku mwenyewe tulikuwa wengi.
I was not alone, were many of us.
Did you sleep on the street after the department had come and had told you there was an option for you to go to Hofland?
Ulilala nje baada ya watu wa serikali kuambia kuko na mahali pale Hofland.
Hiyo tuna siku ule walikuja wakachukua baadhi ya watu wengine kaa usafiri utafanya muda wiki mzima mpaka fulani ikando majua wengine wanafanya kwanza nje.
It was because of transport. They came and took a few people, took them to Hofland, and others were left behind.
I understand. Thank you.
Asante sana, Nene.
What were the conditions like at Hofland Park Community Centre?
Maisha pale Hofland Park Community Center, unaweza tuelezea ilikuwaje?
Maisha vizuri kutokana na msaada wetu na vitu vyote ambavyo vinaletewa chakula, kupiga mswaki, mafuta, walikuwa pia wanakuja gari kama mobile clinic, wanakuja kama kuna mtu ambaye moshi umeingia sana, walikuwa wanatoa huduma za kiafya kupiga ujauzito.
Okay. So at first it was okay. We had a lot of aid. They would give us cooking oil, toothbrush, toothpaste. If someone had suffered from smoke inhalation, there was help. There was health assistance as well.
Tunapiga simu nyumbani kwa vile kutokea na tatizo, bila sisi tunaongea tunapona.
The Red Cross was also there, and they enabled us to call back home and let them know of what had happened and that we were fine.
You said that was the situation at the beginning. Did the situation change?
Umesema kuanzia kulikuwa kuzuri. Iko kitu ilibadilika?
Kipindi chakula pia mchakato kama matatizo mengi chooni wenyewe, tunaishi wengi, kila mtu na tabia zake.
So at first it was okay. Were even given food, but later on things changed. There was no food. Looking for food was difficult. People had different behaviors there as well, which made it difficult. Even the toilets were now not clean. Yes. So it was now, things had changed.
When things changed, what was the situation around water and electricity at Hofland?
Vile kulibadilika, bado kulikuwa na stima na maji pale Hofland.
Yeah.
Yes, there was water and electricity.
Okay. And you said you had to look for food. Where did you find food after it was no longer provided?
Umesema ulikuwa unatafuta chakula. Ulipata chakula wapi baada ya vile wameacha kuwapatia chakula?
Anzi watu wengine wanafanya kazi zao, wengine hizi pale wafanyikazi wanabendana vyao, wanaenda sigara, switi, wengine wanapanda kwa matunda, wengine wanakuwa kuna muda nasema nini wale watu wanaenda kuuza vile, kuna nguo ambayo tulipewa wametembea na kuuza nguo, wamepata hela. Kutokana watu wengi wamefanya hivyo, walikuwa wanaishi na familia zao pale na watoto wake.
So different people did different things to look for money. Some people had jobs, so they would go back to work from Hoffland. Some people would sell sweets and cigarettes. Others sold the clothes that were donated to them. That's what they would sell, because they had children there as well. And because those who had children, they couldn't just let their children starve, so they had to get out of there to look for food for their children.
Thank you. I just want to clarify the food that was provided at the beginning. Was that who provided that food?
Tafadhali tueleze, nataka tu kujua ile chakula ililetwa hapo awali, nani alikuwa alileta hiyo chakula?
Vitengo tofauti, wengine walikuwa na Kristo ndio walikuwa wanakuja kupokea chakula, na wengine pamoja na kuimba kwa jina kutoka Asha walikuwa wanatuletea sana chakula.
It was different organizations. Some were Christian organizations, and I remember one organization called Ashraf was also bringing food there.
So it was not the state who provided food, not the government.
Kwa hivyo haikuwa serikali iliwaletea chakula.
It was not.
It was not the state.
Thank you. I do also just want to check to hear a little bit more about the water and electricity, if that's all right. So, was it ever cut off? Did you have water and electricity at all times?
Mulikuwa na maji na stima wakati wote, ama iko wakati ilikuwa inakata?
Kwa maji yalikuwa bado yanakatika, maji yalikuwa hapo. Ya umeme yalikuwa yanakatika au katika na ile yote ya pale. Lakini kwa maji yalikuwa pale, kwa maana ilikuwa ni community center. Pale maji yalikuwa yapo, ili tayari sometimes maji yalikuwa yanasumbua hivi. Wale watu shida karibu walikuwa wanapelekea kuchukua maji pale.
So water was available at all times. Even the community around that center, when they didn't have water, they would come for water at the center. So water was available at all times, but the electricity, sometimes it would be cut off, but it would be in the whole area.
I see. What was the relationship like that you had with the management of the building? I imagine there must have been a management body of the building. Was there such a management body of the building?
Kulikuwa na wale walikuwa kama manager pale kwenye hile nyumba. Ulikuwa unawajua?
Disaster management.
There we had the disaster management, the Red Cross, City of Johannesburg were also there. So I don't know which ones of them were managing the situation there.
I understand. In some of the witness statements that we collected, we heard that there were times when electricity was shut off as punishment at Hoffland. Did you experience that ever?
Kwenye ushuhuda ile tumepata, tumeambiwa eti stima saa zingine ilikuwa inakatwa ili ni kama punishment ama ni kama kuwapatia adabu wale wanaishi pale Hoffland. Unajua kitu kama hiyo?
Watu wanaongea hivyo. Sema upande wangu kingekuwa na kama katika kwa wote.
Yes, people were saying that, but for me, I thought when I see there's no electricity, it was to everyone in the area.
Okay, I understand. Thank you, sir.
Asante sana Nine.
Um, what was the situation around cooking at Hofland? Were you able to cook at Hofland?
Pale Hofland mliweza kupika?
Kuweza kupika kama kulikuwa na sehemu ya jiko, kulikuwa na jiko kubwa la umeme.
Yes, we cooked for ourselves. There was a kitchen, and in the kitchen there was a big stove. That's where we'd cook. And the stove was an electric stove.
Was there enough space for everyone who was staying at Hofland to cook there?
Kila mtu angeweza kupika hapo. Kila mtu mwenye alikuwa hapo Hofland walikuwa na mahali wanaweza kupikia hapo.
Hapana, sababu halikuwa kubwa sana. Kama watu wanaweza kupika, watapika hapa watu watano. Wengine ikawa wamepata plani nyingine, wanapika nje kwenye sinajua kuna.
Okay, there was not enough space. Maybe there would only be about 5 people who could cook at the same time. So some people would cook outside using firewood.
How many people were at Hofland approximately?
Unaweza sema ni kama watu wangapi hivi hapo Hofland?
Kwa wanaume kwa tunafika hata 250.
For men, I can say we're about 200, 250. For women, I can't really tell.
How many kitchens did you have between all of you?
Mulikuwa na kama jikoni kama ngapi hivi kwa kila mtu? Yani kitchen hivi, jikoni. There was only one kitchen.
And how many toilets did you have between all of you?
Na choo mulikuwa na kama ngapi?
Vya ndani viwili, pia kulikuwa na choo kimoja ambayo pia cha nje kwa kutumia maji. Na katika kila chumba chenye choo kulikuwa na sehemu ya kupiga mswaki, sehemu ya kuogea, sehemu ya kuogewa na vyoo vingine.
On the inside of the building, there were 2 toilets. Then there was a toilet outside of the building, which women would use. But some rooms also had toilets, and there was a place for where we could brush our teeth.
Chumba kimoja cha wanaume tunakuwa cha ndani kwa
So in the building, there were 2 toilets for men and 2 toilets for women, and a place where we could brush our teeth.
And did the building have showers or baths, places to wash yourselves?
Ndani ya hiyo nyumba kulikuwa na mahali mngeoga, bafu. There where there were toilets, there were also places which were partitioned for bathing or showering.
Do you think that there were enough toilets and places to clean yourself for everyone who was there?
Unafikiria kulikuwa na choo na bafu zenye zilikuwa zinatosha kwa kila mtu pale?
Kwa vitosha pia nikisema kwa tunaenda kwa foleni.
There were not enough for everyone, so we had to do it in shifts.
Thank you. How did you feel living at Hofland? What did it feel like?
Ulikuwa unasikiaje kuishi pale Hofland?
Kula kila kitu kwa kumeletea kwamba mtu wewe ndio unafanya kazi kufanya sometimes unabaki tu unakuwa na stress na mingi kwa sababu tunataka pale ndio kufanya kwa hiyo nafikiria sana na tukio lote kabisa kama kuchambua.
Okay. The conditions sometimes were very stressful because sometimes we could not go look for work. Would just sit and think a lot. There was not much to do there. Yeah.
Why could you not go look for work?
Kwa nini ungeweza kwenda kutafuta kazi?
Kwa kazi ya kwa huyu pata kazi kwa kazi hapa iliyofika mpaka unataka kwenda au mtu kuamini sisi leo tunafanya kazi baada ya kuuza matunda mpaka unamtajua kwa nini.
So to look for work, I needed a permit or maybe someone I can trust. So unless I did something like selling fruits or something like that. I didn't have anyone who can buy from personal capital. I didn't have capital to start the business.
I suppose, can I confirm that you lost your money? You said you lost everything. Did that include money that you had that would have acted as capital?
Umesema ulipoteza kila kitu. Kila kitu pia ulipoteza pesa ili uweze kuanza kama biashara hii. Ulipoteza pia hiyo?
Ndio, nilikuwa na kitu yangu pia nani nilikuwa ndiba. Hela ilikuwa pia niliacha ndani.
Kama ngapi? Okay. I lost all my money. I even had my rent in the room. I lost that. I lost about 5,000 rand.
Did you consider leaving Hoffland at any point?
Iko wakati ulifikiria unataka kuenda kutoka Hoffland? Kuhama?
Ndio, kwa sina uwezo ndio sina kitu sio ndio sina.
Yes, I thought about it, but I did not have anything. I did not have any money, so I could not leave.
I'd like to take you back to the 15th of November 2023 now. What happened on that day?
Nataka kukurudisha kwa tarehe 15 mwezi wa 11 2023. Kulifanyika aje? Nini ilifanyika?
Yeah, watu kwanza kufika pale mtu Johannesburg kuja management ndio baada hapo ikawa wamechukua video baada ya sehemu ndani wameandika wamechukua video.
So what happened was the city of Johannesburg and the fire department, they were there, they came in and they took videos of the building.
Baadaye wafanya home affairs.
After that, the home affairs also came.
Kwa muda mchache tena wakaja mito gari moja ndio wakatuita kwa pamoja.
After that, the metro department also came with their vehicle and they gathered us all together to talk.
Yeah. Mmoja ndio anaongea na sisi hapa sote.
Then there was one man who came up who spoke to all of us.
Nasema anataka kama kujua wangapi ni wa South Africa na wangapi ni wa Tanzania, wangapi ni wa Malawi, wangapi ni wa Zimbabwe.
So he wanted to know how many were South Africans, how many were Tanzanians, Malawians, and Zimbabweans.
Afrika wakaika pembeni, tukatenganisha makundi nchi tofauti.
So the South Africans were put aside and then everyone else was put in the different groups according to their countries.
Tanzania nani ambaye ana pasipoti au alikuja na kibali chochote cha kuishi hapa nchini.
After that, they asked us, the Tanzanians, who came into this country with which kind of document, who has a passport, or who had what kind of papers did you come in with?
Tuliulizwa hivyo. Baada hapo wakapatikana ambao walikuwa na pasipoti, ambao alikuwa na pasipoti pia na pasipoti zao zimeungua ilikuwa pembeni. Waliuliza pia ambao walikuwa pasipoti zao ni muhimu inafanya kazi.
So they further divided us, those who had their passports with them and those who did not have their passports. And those who had their passports, the stamp on the passport, they were checked if they were still valid.
Hivyo iliendelea hadi kwa nchi nyingine kama Malawi, kwa sababu walifanya hivi pia bila utaratibu wao waliotengeneza.
They did the same for others from Zimbabwe and Malawi. They did the same as they had done to us. So they also checked for the passports.
Hapo nakwambia kwamba yeye hapo maishi hapa mshiriki bila vibali, kwa hiyo inabidi wachukue kwa sehemu au South Africa kuna sehemu wanapelekwa ambapo ndio kulikuwa na nini wanaendelea sehemu wanakuta.
So for the South Africans, they were transported to where they will go and stay. And then for the others, kwa wengine
Sasa wengine ndio wakatuchukua na vitu vyetu GP police station.
And the rest, so for the South Africans, they were given transport to somewhere else. The rest of us were taken to the police station.
Did they tell you why they were separating you on that day?
Waliwaambia kwa nini waliwaeka kwa vikundi siku hiyo? No, they just came, asked about the documents and divided us and then took us to the police station.
And you said earlier that they were aware that there were a number of foreign nationals who were at Hofland. Had any official communicated with you before that day that this might happen?
Kabla ya siku hiyo, umesema walikuwa wanajua kulikuwa na kama ma-foreigners. Sasa walikuwa wamewaambia eti kutakuwa na kitu itatendeka sababu nyinyi foreigners. Walikuwa wamewaelezea?
Hapana, kutokana kama homa pia ndio anakuja toka kipindi cha kwanza. Kwa hiyo hakukuwa na tatizo hilo. Na sisi ile siku hatukuwa na hofu pia. Kwa hiyo wanaomba pia wanakuja kila siku hakutoi kutuliza chochote.
No one explained anything to us. Since the first day the Home Affairs used to come, we had no suspicion of anything because we're interacting with them all the time, but no one explained anything.
Thank you, sir. You told me before, you mentioned that your passport was burnt in the fire. Were there others in the group whose passports had burnt?
Umeeleza hapo awali eti pasipoti yako ilichomeka. Iko wengine pia pasipoti zao zilichomeka. Yes.
When they were asking to see passports on that day, the 15th of November, did you explain to them that your passport was burnt, that was the reason you did not have it?
Siku hiyo tarehe ya 15, wakati walikuwa wanaulizia pasipoti, uliwaambia pasipoti yako ilichomeka kwenye moto?
Ya, ilikuwa sisi tumetoka kwenye moto, hawana ndio kama pasipoti zetu baadhi wameugua. Kwa hiyo ndio wanafanya pale wao tulio stay au kwa stay
So they knew that our passports were burnt in the fire. So the issue, they would ask us whether our stamp was valid. The stamp in the passport, was it still valid? That was what they were asking.
Mm. Mm. But they had no way of knowing that for certain.
Lakini hawangehakikisha kweli. Hakuna njia wangehakikisha.
Na hiyo ndio wanahakikisha ni hivi kama haikuwa kuna kitu cha kuhakikisha hapana.
Yeah, they could not tell for certain.
Mm. How did the events of the 15th of November make you feel?
Hapo kwa hiyo tarehe, kila kitu ilitendeka hapo tarehe 15, ilikufanya usikie.
Kwa Masai, yani kwa upande wangu wale jamaa kutoka siku ya kwanza wanajua kama sisi passport zetu zimeingia nilikamata pia nilikamata tukazitoka pia siku za kwanza tena sisi tukaonyesha wanajua passport zetu zimeingia tena ndio hivi kisheria zinakuja kwa stage tukakabla hata moto uje kujua stage baadhi ya watu stage zao kwa kufanya kazi na wengine kwa stage zao wanafanya kazi.
So from the very beginning, they knew that our passports had burnt in the fire. So yeah, some people, their stamp was not valid, others was valid. So if it was to arrest us, they should have arrested us from the very beginning. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Shulufumo. Where were you taken after you were removed from Hofland?
Kutoka Hofland walikupeleka wapi? They took us to JP police station.
And what were the conditions like at JP police station?
Na pale JP unaweza sema kulikuwa aje pale?
JP police station tulifika pale jioni kuandikisha pale agency yetu kwa tuliingia pale jioni pale saa moja saa mbili usiku tulifungia kwenye sehemu yetu sema muda ule tukafikia kula chakula chenyewe pia hakikuletwa.
When we got to JP police station, they registered us. Then we were put in the cell. There was no food. We hadn't eaten. No one brought food to us.
Asubuhi akatuandikisha tena kuchukua katika mahakamani.
After that, until morning, we had not eaten. They registered us again, and then they took us to court.
Kusubiria mpaka tulipoitwa mahakamani. Mahakamani kwa tumepata mikate na juisi. Tukaingia tena kwenye mahakamani pale kwenye koti yetu. Tukasikiliza kesi yetu. Walichotoa maamuzi kwamba turudi tena JP police station.
So we only ate once we got to the court, were given juice and bread, and then at the court were told we should be taken back to JP police station. So after our case had been brought forward, that is when we were taken back to JP police station. Then we had to go back the second day to the court. So when we got back to JP police station, we were again given bread and juice. And so we just stayed at JP police station, and the following day we went back to the court.
Ya asubuhi pale jioni tukapewa tena mikate na juisi wakatuambia sema leo inabidi tuondoke na vitu vyetu kwa sababu tulienda pale na mizigo ya tukaondoka na mizigo yetu tukaenda na
So the following day they gave us juice and bread, and they asked us to take all our property with us on that day. So because some of us had property, so we had to go with it.
How long were you at JP police station in total?
Ilikuwa siku ngapi hivi hapo JP police station?
siku mbili.
2 days.
And how often did they give you food in that time?
Sorry, ma'am. Miss Kruger? Miss
Can you
Kruger?
please test us?
Yes. Chairperson, we don't want to come across as insensitive, but the post-fire events to which we are spending a great deal of time do not speak to the terms of reference at all. And I thought maybe if we can go this direction with that appreciation. Ms. Kruger?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We are fully aware that the events after the fire are somewhat separate to the fire itself, but we view them as intrinsically linked to the fire. The consequences that our clients have faced, the consequences of the fire, are linked to the buildings where they were placed, the fact that they were subsequently arrested, the fact that they are now at Lindela. All of these circumstances came to be because of the fire, and it is our view that a full understanding of the fire and the responses, that the ways in which the city responded to the fire, that would be useful to the Commission. It is our view that the fire cannot be seen as just an event on one day, but that we also need to evaluate the responses, the city's responses to the fire. And it is our hope that the Commission will find that relevant.
Yes, but to what end, Ms. Kruger? Because our terms of reference do not extend to post-events of the fire?
It is my understanding that the terms of reference do concern the victims of the fire. And the victims of the fire are people that are now dealing with.
Yes, but Ms. Kruger, I think you and I know what the terms of reference are. The terms of reference are quite perspicuous, if I may say. They relate to the circumstances surrounding the fire and not post the fire.
In my understanding, Madam Chair, of circumstances surrounding the fire, that would extend to the treatment of the victims of the fire after the fire, and the immediate consequences of the fire for the victims of the fire. Those, in my understanding, would be circumstances associated with the fire. However, I do certainly take the point about the terms of reference, and I do not wish to waste this Commission's time. With your permission, Madam Chair, I will proceed through my line of questioning, but attempt to do it as quickly as possible. I would like to understand. I think we have spoken quite a lot about JP Police Station. I just would like to understand a little bit further about that, and then I would like to ask the witnesses about their experiences at Lindela. Being these witnesses are, of course, the only witnesses that will be led from Lindela who can speak to that particular experience. So just to summarize, with your permission, Madam Chair, I would like to proceed with my questioning, but do so bearing in mind that this may be beyond what this Commission was envisioning when this Commission can convene today. So I would like to proceed in summary form, if I may.
Yes, it must be in a summary form, Ms. Kruger. We cannot waste time on events that do not relate to our terms of reference.
Certainly, Madam
You may
Chair.
proceed.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Did you have contact with anyone while you were at JP Police Station?
Ukiwa pale JP Police Station, uliweza kuongea na mtu yeyote huku nje? On my side, I didn't have anyone I could contact.
Your brothers were not with you at Hoffland, is that right?
Wale ndugu zako walikuwa na wewe pale Hoffland.
Wengine baada ya kusikia kama tulikamatwa kesi hiyo ya nini dokumenti ikampia kwa vijiji kufika na wenyewe kwa mawasiliano imeishia tu kwa hapo chini.
Some of them were not there with us when they heard that we had been arrested and the issue was about our papers. They did not want to get there to Hoffland.
I understand. How did you come to leave JP Police Station?
Ulitoka JP Police Station aje?
Police station tulitoka pale tarehe 7 kwa kuingia mahakamani mara ya pili. Alipokuwa mahakamani ndio wakasema shida.
We left JP Police Station on the 17th when we needed to go back to court, and then from court we were brought to Lindela.
When did you arrive at Lindela Repatriation Center?
Ulifika tarehe gani hapa? On the 17th of November.
That being
Juma, on a Friday.
Thank you, sir. Please could you describe to us what it's like to live at Lindela?
Tafadhali tueleze hali ya hapa Lindela. Unaweza tuelezea nini kuhusu hapa Lindela?
Tena kuna tuje ndio maana kuna matatizo mengi kwanza kwa chakula pia na mazingira ya kulala midogo ndio vichafu.
The condition here is difficult when it comes to food. The mattress that we use to sleep in, there are insects on it. The toilets, the condition is terrible.
Why is the situation difficult when it comes to food?
Kwa nini kama chakula hivi sio nzuri ama nini?
Chakula kinakuwa ni kidogo alafu tunakuwa miwili alafu ndio mwisho ambao ndio mpaka kesho tunakuwa kwenye saa 8 mchana pia chakula kidogo ambacho mtu hawezi kwani kuvumilia kushinda chakula. Kuna baadhi ya watu pia wanatoka kwa vile njaa.
The food is very little. We only have 2 meals a day. The last meal of the day is around 2 p.m. It's not satisfying. There are even some of our some people here who have fainted because the food is not enough.
And what is the situation around toiletries at Lindela?
Napatiwa kama toilet paper hivi kusugua meno.
Ms. Kruger, I think you are tempting my patience.
I do apologize, Madam Chair. I think that the witness has answered me on the conditions at Lindela. I will move on. I do apologize. When do you think you will be able to leave Lindela?
Unaona utatoka hapa Lindela lini?
Ndio tumekuja hapa hata migration officer anatuambia sisi kama hatuwezi kuachilia au kupeleka nyumbani mpaka tusikie kauli kutoka na mahakama kubwa.
For us, we've been told we cannot live here until there is outcomes from the High Court.
When do you expect those to come?
Wametuambia ni lini, tatokea lini hiyo uamuzi.
Hawajatuambia, wasema tunaweza tukakaa hata miezi 4, 5 kesi iko kwenye mahakama kubwa.
They've not told us anything. We might be here for 4 months, 5 months until there is any results from the High Court.
Kwa sababu pia kuna muda tunaingia pamoja na baadhi ya wanahabari wawili walisafirishwa tena ikapatikana hiyo oda kwamba sisi hatuwezi kusafirishwa, ndio ni wakatambuliwa Zimbabwe wakarudishwa hapa kwa kweli pia tukelao.
There's a time where 2 Malawian citizens had been deported, but from the court they said none of them should leave Lindela. So those 2 Malawians had to be, they had to look for them, and they found them in Zimbabwe, and they were brought back to Lindela.
Would you like to return to Tanzania?
Ungependa kurudi Tanzania?
Sababu nimekaa sana hapa bora ni nyumbani kwa hii kesi inaendelea. Kuna baadhi ya watu wengine wako kwenye kesi na wako nje, ni sisi tu. Kuna muda kuwa napenda kufikiria bora nilikuwa nyumbani afu nikarudi tena kwenye kesi.
Yes, I would love to go back to Tanzania because there's a lot to do out there, but for me, I'm just in here. So maybe I would love to go back to Tanzania, and when I'm needed for this case, I can come back.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shulufumo. Those are all the questions that I have for this witness, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I think this is an appropriate time to take a short adjournment, and we'll reconvene at 12:15.
Madam Chair.
Advocate Minya.
Thank you, Chairperson, Madam Commissioner. Mr. Shelufumo, I would like to ask you a few questions just to clarify your evidence.
Are we connected to the witness? Miss Interpreter?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you.
All right. You tell us that you lived in Usindiso together with 3 friends, or what you call your brothers.
Umetuambia ulikuwa unaishi hapo Usindiso na marafiki watatu wenye unaita ndugu zako. Yes.
Can you tell us if all of them managed to escape the fire on the night?
Unaweza kutuambia kama wote waliweza kutoka pale kwenye ile nyumba usiku huo? Yes, all of them managed to escape and we thank God for that.
Okay. And about paying rent, are you able to tell us how much rent you're paying?
Unaweza kutuambia ile kodi ulikuwa unalipa ngapi? I was paying 1,400 rand.
All right. The commission has also heard about the levels of crime in Usindiso building. Are you able to tell us anything you know?
Commission wamesikia kwamba pale kulikuwa na ujambazi mwingi pale kwenye hiyo hapo Usindiso. Ulikuwa umesikia na unaweza kutuambia kitu kuhusu vile kulikuwa kunatendeka pale?
Ndio, kutoka ule mjengo ulikuwa hauko salama, kwa maana kila floor inajitegemea yote, kwa sababu ya uhalifu kama hivi. Uhalifu ni kuwepo, ndio wale wanafanya uhalifu wataiba.
There was a lot of crime in that building. That's why on every floor there was some measure of safety, because there was a lot of crime, there was theft.
Any drug peddling that you can speak to?
Kulikuwa na wauzaji madawa pia. Yes.
And to what level of seriousness would you say that was the case in Usindiso?
Na unaweza sema kama uuzaji madawa ulikuwa kwa kipimo, unaweza pima ni aje? Ilikuwa serious sana kama?
Haikuwa serious sana, kwa sababu ilikuwa baadhi tu ya watu.
It was not very serious because it was just a few people who were selling the drugs.
Those are the questions we have for the witness, Chair.
Thank you, Advocate Minya. Mr. Myandu.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, Madam Mapena. Madam Chairperson, we do have some questions of clarity that we'd like to pose to the witness.
Yes, you may proceed.
Good morning, Mr. Shelufumo.
Habari ya asubuhi, Bwana Shelufumo. Very well, thank you.
Mr. Shelufumo, as we've said to the Chair, would like to pose some questions to you to clarify your testimony.
Ningependa kukuuliza maswali kadhaa kwa vile umeongea kwa ushuhuda wako.
There may have been some confusion with your testimony. Your statement states that you lived on the first floor. However, at certain points, we had 4th floor. Can you just clarify for us the floor that you lived on?
Unaweza tuelezea hapo awali kwenye ushuhuda wako, unasema uliishi kwenye ghorofa ya kwanza, alafu sasa leo umesema ulikuwa unaishi ghorofa ya 4. Ulikuwa unaishi wapi hasa?
Wakati nafika pale mjengo kwa naishi kutoka pamoja. Sasa siku ilivyoendelea mwenyewe nimebidi kulipa kodi, inabidi niamini kwa baridi.
At first, when I first arrived, I lived on the first floor because I did not have enough rent. But when I got enough rent, I moved to the 4th floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shelifumo. And it's on the 4th floor that we understand you were paying the amount of 1,400 as rental.
Kwa hivyo ni hapo ghorofa ya 4 ulikuwa unalipa 1,400.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is there anything in particular that you did to sustain yourself in order to be able to pay the rental amount?
Ulikuwa unafanya kazi gani haswa kuweza kulipa hiyo kodi ya hiyo kodi? I was an informal trader. I used to sell cigarettes, sweets.
Thank you, Mr. Shelifumo. You've also told the commission that your room was made of cardboard. Is that how we should understand the evidence?
Hapo awali ulikuwa umesema ile room ulikuwa unaishi ilikuwa imejengwa na cardboard hivi.
Yeah.
Yes.
How many other such like structures were on the 4th floor? You can apologies. You can give us an approximated number.
Kulikuwa na room zingine pale hapo 4th floor. Kulikuwa na room zingine na zilikuwa kama ngapi zilikuwa zimejengwa na hiyo cardboard?
Kwanza ni kwa cardboard ilikuwa ni chache ndio una sehemu nyingine kwa ziko wazi ndio yana kama kuviamisha kwa kutumia zile misimu. Lakini baadhi ya vyumba vilikuwa kama tofauti.
Okay. There were a few that had been partitioned using ceiling boards. Some of the other rooms were built with stone. Zilikuwa kama ngapi? There were just a few that had been built with cardboard.
Mr. Shelifumo, asante. Thank you, Madam Chenu, for the questions.
Thank you, Mr. Miandu. Is there anyone who's appearing on behalf of SERI? Please place your name on record, sir.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Nkosinathi Sithole.
Yes, Mr. Sithole, do you have any questions clarifying questions to put to the witness?
Yes, please. Thank you, Chair. And thank you also, Commissioner. Mr. Shelifumo, just a few questions on our side. You mentioned that you were able to get out and you were on the street for some time. Just wanted to know how long did you stay outside the building observing what was happening?
Bwana Shelifumo, umetuambia uliweza kutoka pale kwenye hilo nyumba na ukaishi pale kwenye barabara. Unaweza sema ni muda gani, kama muda ulikuwa muda wa siku ngapi hivi ama saa ngapi ulikuwa pale kwa barabara?
Ilikuwa siku moja. Siku pili ndio
I was there for one day, and then the next day I went to Hoffland Park.
Apologies, Chair and Mr. Shelifumo. I'm trying to get a sense of, as the building was still burning, how long were you there for? And for how long did you observe the fire?
Msamaha, nilikuwa nauliza wakati hiyo nyumba ilikuwa inateketea, ulikuwa hapo nje kama masaa mangapi?
Nilikuwa mpaka asubuhi nilipozuka pale.
Ukiangalia pale.
Yeah.
Masaa ni kama mangapi?
Masaa
I was there for about 5 hours observing from the time it happened up until the morning.
And you mentioned that you and other people outside assisted in calling the firefighters. When the firefighters then arrived, were you still standing outside the building?
Hapo awali ulisema ulipigia wazimamoto simu na wakati wazimamoto walikuja ulikuwa bado pale nje. I was still outside there. Na walikaa kama
mpaka asubuhi.
Yes, I was still outside there when they came.
And when the firefighters arrived, could you still see, or were there still any people that you could see inside the building?
Wakati mazimamoto walifika pale, bado ungeweza kuona watu ndani ya ile nyumba.
Kulikuwa na watu ndani bado.
Yes, there were still people inside the building.
And can you explain to us, when the firefighters arrived, what happened, and if more people were removed from the building during that period?
Unaweza tuambia wakati mazimamoto walifika pale, uliona kama watu waliweza kutolewa kutoka ile nyumba?
Ndio. Tulikuwa wanakuja pale ndio walisaidia zima moto pale. Kutokana na watu wengine pia walikutwa wakiwa ndani, wengine wameshafariki, wengine ni wagonjwa nzima. Hadi hao walipokujua harufu pia walipata kwa wazima.
When the firefighters arrived, they were able to put out the fire. They managed to save some people who were still alive. Others were dead, and there were still those people who were on the roof.
And did you observe how they were able to rescue people? And those that were still on the roof, were they rescued after the fire was completely extinguished?
Uliweza kuona wamesaidia watu wengine na hata wale walikuwa pale juu waliweza kuwatoa pale vile walizima hiyo moto.
Hiyo baada ya fire kuzuia ule moto hadi moshi wenyewe ulipungua, moto ule ulipungua, kwa hiyo wale kule juu pia wakapata muda wa kushuka chini.
The firefighters managed to extinguish the fire. The smoke also lessened, and they managed to bring those who are from the roof, to rescue those who are from the roof. They managed to bring them out.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioner. Those are my questions.
Thank you, Mr. Stole. Ms. Kruger, following from the questions of clarifications put by the legal representatives and the evidence leader, do you have any re-examination to conduct on your witness?
I do not. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Shelufumo. Ms. Kruger, do you wish to admit as an exhibit the statement of Mr. Shelufumo?
I do. Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to request that the witness's statement be admitted into the record as exhibit NRF 13, if that is possible.
Yes, the witness statement of Mr. Shelufuma is admitted into evidence as Exhibit NRF 13. Mr.
Thank you, Madam
Shelufuma, we thank you for having made yourself available to give evidence before this commission. You may step down as a witness.
Asante Bwana Shelifumo kwa wakati wako na pia kupatia ushuhuda kwenye hii commission. Thank you too.
Madam Chair, I would now like to call our second witness of the day, Mr. Peter Kudema Mwambu.
Spell that for me.
Peter,
The surname? The surname?
Thank you, Madam Chair. M-B-W-A-M-B-O. Mr. Mwambu.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Mwambu, for making yourself available. I'm sure that your testimony will be very useful to the Commission.
Asante Bwana Mbombo, najua kweli ushuhuda wako utasaidia sana kwenye hii commission.
Excuse me, I just need to take an extra instruction for a moment. I apologize. Apologies, I was about to begin questioning and then I realized that this has not yet been sworn in. I do apologize. Advocate
Siminya to do the swearing in of the witness. Advocate Siminya.
Mr. Mbombo, please give us your full names.
Bwana Mbombo, tafadhali tupatie majina yako yote.
Peter Kudema Mwambu.
Peter Kudema Mwambu.
You have no objection in taking the oath.
Nakubali kuapishwa. I accept.
Do you swear that the evidence you are about to give us will be the truth, nothing else but the truth? And if you do, please raise your right hand and say, so help me God.
Unakubali kwamba ushahidi utakapotoa hapa ni ukweli na ukweli mtupu? Kama ni hivyo, inua mkono wako useme Mungu nisaidie. So help me God.
The witness is sworn in, Chair.
Thank you, Advocate Siminya. Ms. Kruger, your witness.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Mwambu, I would like to start off by asking you, where are you from?
Bwana Mwambu, nakuuliza tafadhali tuambie umetoka wapi?
Mimi natokea Tanzania.
I'm from Tanzania.
And when did you come to South Africa, sir?
Na ulikuja South Africa siku gani? Lini?
Kwani
Machi 2017. In March 2017.
What documents did you use to enter South Africa?
Ulikuja na karatasi gani?
nilikuja na passport.
I came with a passport.
Do you still have your passport?
Bado uko na passport yako?
Passport is
I don't have it.
How did you lose it?
Ulipoteza?
nilipoteza kwenye moto ile.
I lost it in the fire.
Thank you, Mr. Mwambu.
Asante Bwana Mbombo.
Where did you stay when you first came to South Africa?
Uliishi wapi wakati ulifika ya kwanza?
Nilikuwa naishi Rochester. Then Maboneni.
Nilikuwa naishi I was living in Rochester, then Maboneni.
And how did you come to move to the Usindiso building?
Na ilitokea aje ukaanza kuishi hapo Usindiso?
Nilikuja Usindiso ilikuwa ni 2019. Jengo lilikuwa limefunguliwa pale, nikapata chumba kwa sababu ilikuwa ni cheap, nika rent pale chumba.
Mwaka gani?
2019.
In 2019 is when I moved. End of 2019 is when I moved to Usindiso because the rent was very low.
And what work were you doing in South Africa, or what work have you been doing in South Africa?
Ulikuwa unafanya kazi gani hapa South Africa?
Hapa shughuli ambao nilipokuja ambayo nilikuwa ni kazi ya duka.
At first I was selling in a shop.
Sema mwenyewe nilikuwa napigania nipate shughuli ya hesabu ile shughuli ambayo nilikuwa naifanya tangu nyumbani.
At first I was selling in a shop and I was looking for an electrician work because I'm an electrician.
Did you end up being able to work as an electrician later?
Uliweza kufanya kazi ya umeme?
Hapana, kwa sababu sikuwa na dokumenti ambayo ya kuruhusu mtu kufanya kazi, siwezi kufanya kazi.
No, I did not, because I did not have a work permit.
What floor did you live on in the Usindiso building?
Ulikuwa unaishi wapi haswa, hapo floor number gapi?
Pale nilikuja nilikuwa niko ground.
I was on a ground floor.
Who did you live with?
Ulikuwa unaishi na nani?
Mwanzo wakati nilikuwa nakaa na ndugu zangu. Alafu baadaye nikapata chumba changu mimi. Ya 2022 akaniishi na mke wangu.
At first I was living with my brothers, and then in 2022 I started living with my wife.
Which country does your wife come from?
Mwanamke wako anitoka country gani?
Alikuwa Msaidizi.
She was South African.
And how long have you been in a relationship with your wife?
Na mlikuwa mmeishi kama miaka ngapi?
Mwaka mmoja.
1 year.
Can you describe the room that you lived in with your wife when the fire occurred?
Unaweza tuambia hali ya ile room mlikuwa mnaishi na bibi yako?
Ile room ilikuwa ni kama ni hole, alafu walitenganisha katika box. Kama ni fuko ikapanda nyumba ya fuko chini.
That room was inside a big hall which had been partitioned into smaller rooms using boxes.
Yeah.
Like cook.
So,
Ceiling boards. Yes.
What did you have in the room?
Ulikuwa na vitu kaa gani pale kwenye hiyo room?
pale nilikuwa na kitanda, nilikuwa na jiko, nilikuwa na redio, nilikuwa na kochi na vitu vya kuwekea ni mabeseni na kuwekea vyombo.
In there, I had a stove, I had a bed, I had many things, and where I could place my utensils. I had buckets where we could put our things.
And did you pay rent for the room?
Na ulikuwa unalipa kodi?
Ya nilikuwa nalipa 1,000.
Yes, I was paying 1,200.
Who did you pay rent to?
Ulikuwa unamlipa nani hiyo kodi?
Ile kodi nilikuwa nalipa kuna mzee mmoja ndo alikuwa anakuja kuja kuchukua hela.
I used to pay rent. There was a man who used to come for the rent. So I would pay to him.
Why did you pay rent to that man?
Kwa nini ulikuwa unalipa huyo mzee?
Kwa sababu yeye ndo aliniambia kile chumba ni cha kwake, simpe hela nyingine na alikuwa analipa yeye.
Because that man is one who told me that was his room and I could only pay rent to him. So that's why I paid him.
Was he the owner of the room?
Yeye ndio alikuwa mwenye hiyo room.
Ya ndio.
Yes, he was the owner of it.
Thank you, Mr. Mbwambo.
Asante Bwana Mbwambo.
Can you please describe the conditions at the Usindiso building, sir? What was it like to live there?
Unaweza tuambia hali ya hiyo nyumba ya Usindiso ilikuwa aje kuishi hapo?
Nyumba mandhari ya pale ilikuwa ni mandhari mtu kutegemea, yani kwamba kulikuwa kuna umeme ulikuwepo, maji, lakini mazingira yalikuwa sio mazingira safi sana, alikuwa yako safi mazingira.
Living there was water, there was electricity, but the environment was not a good environment to live in. It was not clean. Yeah, it was not good.
Was there always water and electricity at the building?
Kulikuwa na umeme na maji kila wakati.
Ya maji yalikuwepo, sema umeme saa nyingine ulikuwa hakuna, saa nyingine unakuwepo, ulikuwa inategemea.
Yes, there was water available all the time, but electricity was sometimes there was electricity, sometimes not.
How long would you go without electricity for?
Unaweza sema muda ulikuwa kama muda ngapi kama hakuna umeme pale?
Ya saa nyingine natumia masaa manne, saa matano, saa mbili, saa mbili, depende.
It depended. Sometimes there was no electricity for 2 hours, sometimes 4 hours, sometimes 5 hours. So it was, different.
You said that the building was dirty. Why was that?
Unasema pale palikuwa na uchafu mwingi. Kwa nini?
Kwa sababu watu walikuwa wakitaka kusafisha mpaka kuchangishana hela, alafu kuna mtu mmoja ambaye alikuwa anasafisha. Kwa hiyo ikiwa kuna mwingine labda hajatoa hela hajatumia, mazingira machafu mpaka katika mtu anakuwa anasafisha.
Because we all had to contribute to get somebody to clean. But if everyone did not contribute until we got the amount of money to pay for cleaning, then the cleaning would not happen until the amount had been reached for it to be cleaned.
The person who you paid rent to, did that person help with the cleaning or any other management of the building?
Yule alikuwa anachukua kodi, alikuwa anasaidia kama usafi ama mambo mengine ya hapo ya kumanage pale kwenye hiyo nyumba.
Hapana, yeye alikuwa akija pale na mwisho wa mwezi tu kuja kuchukua hela yake.
No, he just only used to come every end of the month to get his money.
Did you ever complain to him about the conditions in the building?
Uliwahi lalamika kwake kumwambia hiyo nyumba sio safi, si nzuri?
Tulikuwa tunamwambia, akasema rekebisha.
Yes, we had told him and he had promised to change some things.
Did he then in fact change things?
Na alibadilisha mambo.
Did you complain to anyone else about the building? Anyone in government perhaps or anyone else?
Mulilalamikia mtu mwingine kama serikali ama mtu mwingine?
Lakini hatukuwa.
No, we did not complain to anyone else.
How did you feel living in the building?
Ulihisi aje kuishi pale?
Pale kwamba kikubwa kwamba nilikuwa ninavyoishi kwamba kidogo renti ilikuwa iko chini, japo hapakuwa safety sana, lakini kwamba maisha yalikuwa ya kawaida.
To live there, the rent was low. It wasn't very safe, but it was a normal life.
Why was it not safe?
Kwa nini nasema hakukuweko safe sana?
Kwa sababu ulikuwa ukifika usiku, labda kutoka nje, na kabari anaweza kukaba kuchukulia vitu vyako kwa usiku mwingi, na pia huni kama uko katika mijengo mikubwa, huwezi mjua mzuri ni nani ambaye anaweza kufanya hicho cha gari kutokana na maisha ya kila mtu.
Because if you came in late at night, you could be robbed. The building was big. There were a lot of people who were living there. You don't know what was their behavior like, so it was not safe.
Mr. Mbwambo, I would like to take you back to the night of the fire, the 31st of August, 2023. Please, could you expatiate on what happened that night?
Bwana Mbwambo, nataka tuelezee siku hiyo ya moto. Unaweza tuelezea nini ilifanyika?
Mimi siku ya moto wakati watokea nilikuwa nimelala. Wakati nilikuwa nimelala, nisikia tuna kelele ya watu wakisema moto, moto. Nami ndo nikaamka. Sikia wanasema moto, moto, moto. Niliposikia wanasema moto, nikajaribu kuvunja mlango.
On that night, I was sleeping, and while I was sleeping, I was woken up by people shouting, making noise, saying, "Fire! There's a fire! There's a fire!" So I woke up, and then I tried to break the door.
Kuangalia nje, moto tayari ulikuwa ushakaribia. Kwa sababu nimevunja kutokana na mke wangu, nilimwambia alikuja, alikuwa ataka chakula, akanunua, nikampa hela kwa akamtia kwa nje mlango, sababu nilikuwa nimechoka. Kwa hiyo alifunga mlango, alikuwa anakunywa chakula, nje moto unatokea, nikabidi nivunje mlango.
My wife had earlier said that she was hungry, so I gave her some money to go and buy food. When she was going, she locked from the outside so that she could go buy food because I was tired and I was sleeping. That's why I had to break the door. When I broke the door, I found that the fire was very close by.
Kuvunja wale mlango, kilichonishangaza nikashangaa moto uko karibu, alafu mtu aliingia ndani baada ya kuvunja ile mlango, alikuwa na moto kwenye mwili wake mzima.
What surprised me is as soon as I broke the door, there was a person who came towards me who was engulfed by the fire. So that shocked me.
Moto. Kwa hiyo yule alinichanganya sana mimi, kwamba nilichanganyikiwa nisijue kitu cha kuchukua ndio ndani. Matokeo yake ilikuwa kuna kijidogo ilikuwa kinaanguka sana, ndio nilikichukua nikatoka nje, kwa sababu yule mtu alikuwa anazunguka ndani ya moto mzima. Kwa hiyo mimi nikahofia kwa kunikumbatia na moto kwa karibu, naweza nikapoteza maisha. Kwa hiyo inabidi nisanze kutafuta njia kutokea nje.
So when I saw the person who was engulfed by fire, it confused me. What can I take? What can I save from my room? I only took a small bag which had clothes inside, and I was afraid the person who was on fire would come and either hug me or hold me. So, and I would also be on fire. So I managed to take the bag and get out.
Toka nje kwa kuna moshi sana, siweza kuona mbele na hewa alikuwa naivuta ilikuwa ni moshi. Kwa hiyo nikajitahidi, ile moto ilikuwa haujafika mbali sana, kwa hiyo nikakutana na mlango kutokea nje, nikatoka nje.
So when I tried to get out, there was a lot of smoke and I was inhaling smoke, but I managed to get through to the exit or the entrance. I managed to get out of there.
Thank you, Mr. Mwambo. What was happening inside the building before you got out?
Nini ilikuwa inatokea ukiwa ndani ya hiyo nyumba kabla utoke? Saa hiyo kulikuwa na moto, ni nini ilikuwa inaendelea ama uliona nini kabla utoke?
Baada ya kutoka nje.
Kabla utoke nje. I'm just explaining. Before coming out of the house, kabla utoke, uliona nini kwenye hiyo nyumba?
Ni moto ndio, kwa sababu moto ulikuwa karibu na watu walikuwa, kuna watu nilikutana nao walikuwa wanajitahidi kutoka nje, tukatoka nje. na wengine walikuwa wanapiga kelele kwenye nyumba zao, wanasema tunakufa, tufungulieni jamani, tunakufa. Ndio sauti ambazo nilikuwa nikisikia mimi.
Before I came out, I could see the fire. I could see people getting out, and I could also hear people saying, "We are dying. Please open for us." So I could hear them as I was getting out.
And what was happening? What was happening on the street once you had gotten out?
Ulipotoka nje, nini ilikuwa inaendelea hapo kwa barabara?
Nilipokutana kutoka nje, nilikutana na watu ambao wanaokuwa wanajitahidi kutoka nje. Kwa hiyo wakati tuko nje tunaangalia tu jengo linavyoungua na watu wanaopita kutoka kwenye jengo mpaka chini.
When we were out there, I met other people who also managed to exit the building, and were now looking at the fire as it engulfed the building, and also people as they were jumping out of the building.
I think you said, so, that you're on the ground floor. So was it possible for you to leave out of the main door on the ground floor, or how did you leave the building?
Hapo awali umetuelezea ulikuwa hiyo hapo chini, ghorofa ya chini. Uliweza kutoka aje? Ilikuwa labda rahisi?
Kwa upande wa kwangu mimi haikuwa rahisi kutokana na njia ilikuwa ni moja kutokea. Kwa hiyo nilijitahidi hivyo nikatoka kwa sababu kwa kuna giza alikuwa hakuna nyumba.
Even though I was on the ground floor, it was still very hard to get out. I really tried my best to get out. There was no electricity and there was a lot of smoke, but I managed to get out.
Did you get out of the door, or how did you get out?
Ulitoka kwa mlango ama ulitoka?
Nilitoka kwa mlango mkubwa ambao watu wanatumia.
I got out through the main entrance.
And when did the fire department arrive?
Wazimamoto walifika saa ngapi?
Wale wazimamoto wakuchukua muda mwingi sana kufika. Ilikuwa muda mchache tu, baadaye walifika, kuchukua muda mwingi sana, muda mchache.
The firefighters did not take long to arrive. It was just a short time.
What did you lose in the fire, sir?
Ulipoteza nini?
Pesa yangu, pesa na vitu vyangu vya ndani, alafu kuna hela ya kodi ambayo nilikuwa nimeandalia ile msefa ili kumpa, na hela yangu ambayo nilikuwa nimeiweka kwa ajili yangu mimi mwenyewe pia nguo sababu kutoka na
I lost my passport, I lost my clothes, I lost the rent that I had put aside for that month. I lost my own money.
And you said that your wife had gone to buy food. Was she in the building when it caught light?
Umesema mke wako alienda kununua chakula. Ilikuwa pale ndani ya hiyo nyumba?
Chakula kilikuwa kiko nje upande mwingine kulikuwa kunauzwa.
She went to buy food outside of the building in another place.
Did you find her on the street once you left the building?
Ulimpata hapo barabarani? Mlikutana?
Ya wakati nimetoka nje sasa, yeye alikuja akana anigonga pale dirishani kwamba niamke, ananigonga huko analia kwamba alimuona mtu anaungua moto jua nini. Kwa akae analia tu anagonga pale dirisha. Lakini mimi baada ya kumuona kama sio mimi nilifanikiwa kutoka.
When she came back, she thought I was still inside. She started knocking on the window and she saw someone who was on fire. So she thought it was me. And she started to cry out loud because she thought I was burning. But I managed to find her and tell her I'm okay.
Did you know the person who was burning?
Ulimjua huyo mwenye alikuwa anateketea? No, I didn't know. I didn't know him because it was very dark.
Kwa jinsi alivyokuwa anapolia alivyoungua, nilihisi kama alikuwa ni mvulana.
But when I heard how he was crying, I thought he was Malawian.
Do you know whether he died in the fire ultimately?
Unajua kama aliaga kwenye hiyo moto? Alifariki.
Hapana, sikuweza kujua kama alifariki yule au alifanikiwa naye kutoka nje.
I don't know if he died or he was rescued.
Do you know anyone else who died in the fire, sir?
Unajua mtu mwingine aliyefariki kwenye hiyo moto?
Ya, kulikuwa kuna Watanzania wanne, wote walifariki kwenye moto kwa sababu walikuwa wanakaa chumba kimoja. Wawili walikuwa ni wageni na wawili walikuwa wanakaa kwenye ile nyumba, kwa hiyo walikuwa kama wanne.
Yes, I knew some Tanzanians, four of them who died in the fire. Two of them were visitors and two of them used to live in the building.
On the day of the fire, what do you think had caused the fire? On that day?
Siku hiyo ya moto, unafikiri nini ilianzisha huo moto?
Zitambua kwa sababu wengine walikuwa wanasema ni mshumaa na wengine walipinga wakasema kwamba huu moto sio wa mshumaa kwa jinsi kasi yake ilipokuwa ni kubwa, kwamba ulikuwa ni mshumaa usiokuwa na kasi ile kubwa ya kuteketeza wengine.
I don't really know. I just know what people were saying. Some were saying it was a candle. Others were saying it could not be a candle because if it was a candle, that fire was too big. It could not be a candle. It could not be. It could have been easier to put off fire that had been started with a candle, by a candle.
Thank you, Mr. Mbwambo, and thank you very much for sharing your story with us. It must have been very traumatic. I have more questions for Mr. Mbwambo, but Madam Chair, I just wanted to ask whether this might be a convenient moment to break for lunch.
Yes. We'll adjourn for lunch until 2 o'clock.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Advocate Minya.
I think my learned colleague Kruger had not completed. at
Are
the
we
time of-
connected? We are connected.
So we are told.
Yes. Ms. Kruger, we adjourned whilst you were still leading your witness.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just realized I think there might be a problem with the technology. Just one moment. I think I need to unmute the other computer. I think we are sorted. Apologies, Madam Chair. Yes, thank you. With your permission, I would like to ask a few more questions of Mr.
You may
Mwambo.
proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Mwambo, could you describe to me what it was like when you moved to Hoffland after the fire?
Bwana Mbwambo, unaweza tuelezea baada ya kuhamia Hoffland ilikuwa aje pale?
Mwanzo tulivyohamia pale Rockland walikuwa wanakuja watu wengi tu, mashirika ya serikali na watu wa kanisa walikuwa wanakuja kutuletea msaada wa nguo, chakula. Mwanzo ilikuwa vizuri.
At first, when we settled at Hoffland, there were many organizations that would come there, including the government, and they would give us aid, whether it was food or clothes.
And why did you decide to go to Hoffland?
Na kwa nini uliona ni vizuri kwenda pale Hoffland?
Kwa sababu walituambia pale tumeunguziwa na kila kitu, kwa hiyo sisi tukapeleka sehemu salama. Kwa hiyo mtakaa hapo mpaka tutajua tutafanyia jambo gani.
Because they told us since everything had been destroyed in the fire, it would be good for us to move to Hoffland because it is a safe place to live.
When you say they, was that the government who said so?
Unaposema waliwaambia, hao ni kina nani waliwaambia?
Tuambie ilikuwa ni City of Johannesburg ndio walikuja kutuchukua.
It was City of Johannesburg. They're the ones who came to get us.
Were they aware that you are not South African, that you are from Tanzania?
Walikuwa wanajua wewe umetoka Tanzania, wewe si South Africa.
Ya, niliwaambia na kulikuwa kuna mataifa mengi tu ambayo tulikuwa sasa.
Yes, they knew that I was not from South Africa, and there were many other nationalities there, Zimbabweans, Malawians, and others.
You spoke of your wife before. Did she also move to Hoffland?
Hapo awali ulituambia ulikuwa na mke wako, pia yeye alihamia hapo Hoffland.
Ya, alikuja Hoffland.
Yes, she also moved to Hoffland.
And thank you. We don't want to go into too much detail and waste this commission's time, but can I ask you to briefly, or in your own words, describe the conditions at Hoffland?
Unaweza tuelezea tu pale Hoffland, unaweza tuelezea hali ilikuwa gani?
Pale mwanzo tulikuwa tunapata chakula vizuri na wakatuambia tusiondoke pale, sababu ilikuwa kuna wafeka walikuwa wanakuja pale, kulikuwa kuna Red Cross kwa ajili ya kupiga simu nyumbani kuonyesha familia, na kulikuwa kuna shirika lilikuwa linaleta chakula cha Keep to Give Us, pia walikuwepo pale. Kwa hiyo wakatuambia tusiondoke, wakaona kweli maswali ulikuwa unalipa chumba ni bei gani, kwa hiyo tulieni hapa tutalipia kodi ya miezi 3.
Okay. So at first, once we settled there at Hoffland, there were many organizations, including the Red Cross, who gave us opportunity to communicate back home. We were told not to leave the area. We should stay at Hoffland there were many, the government would come and interview us. They would write about us. Yeah.
You said that was the case at first. Is that how it remained?
Umesema ilikuwa hivyo mwanzo, iliendelea hivyo?
Hapana, alikuendelea vile kwamba kuna kipindi pale ilikuwa chakula hakiji. Kwa hiyo chakula hakiji, alafu kutoka kwenye watu wapesao na watoto na kasi wazao. Kwa hiyo vile maisha yakawa ni magumu pale. Kwa hiyo watu wakawa wanatoka nje mwenyewe na kwenda kujitafutia, ukija kupata chochote kupika kama na watoto ili waweze kula.
Yeah, it changed later on, and now we're forced to look for a means of getting food, especially for those who did not have children. They had to look for means of how to feed their children. So it became difficult later on.
I want to take you to the 15th of November, 2023. What happened on that day?
Jaribu kutuambia tarehe ya 15 nini ilifanyika siku huo?
Sana pale asubuhi kuja wale watu ambao tunawazoea siku cha kupata vijana. Kulikuwa kuna disaster kuwepo kuja asubuhi. Alafu baada ya hapo wakaja na metro polisi. Alafu baada ya hapo kwa mafia na wakajaga ambao walikuwa tunawaonaga tulikuwa tunakujaga pale, kwa hiyo hatukushtuka sana kwa sababu tunatumiaga kawaida kuja kwao.
So on the 15th in the morning, people from the disaster and the Metro Police and the Home Affairs, they came on that day. We used to see them often, so it was like normal. That's what they used to do. They would come and talk to us. So they did the same on that 15th in the morning.
And what else happened on that day?
Nini kingine kilifanyika siku hiyo?
Baada ya hapo iza pale ambao South Africa wakae huku, Baada ya hapo walipopata idadi ya South Africa na South Africa wakatuuliza ambao wana pasipoti wakae huku, ambao pasipoti zao hawana wakae huku.
They then divided us. On one side was South Africans, on the other side was non-South Africans. Then those who had passports were also further divided. Those who had passport on one side, those who did not have passports on the other side.
Baada ya hapo wakatuambia kwamba ambao hawana pasipoti waingie kwenye wachukue vitu vyao, na ambao pasipoti zao zipo zinafanya kazi watuonyeshe. Sasa pale ndio tukakamatwa wote ambao pasipoti zao zime-expire na ambao pasipoti zao zimepoteza kwenye moto, tukaingizwa kwenye gari na kupelekwa TP police station.
Okay, so they asked those who did not have passports to one side, those who had passports but they were not valid were also put on the same side. They gathered us together and then they put us in transport to JP police station.
Did they separate you and your wife, sir?
Waliwaeka kando wewe na mke wako.
Yeye alikuwa
Yes, I understand. There's no commentary allowed. After every time the witnesses something says, thank you very much.
Kujema. Here we go. Here's the spelling. Here we go.
Hello. Yes. Okay, I'm free.
Okay. We've taken a 5-minute adjournment.
I basically said there's nothing on the paper that contradicts that they haven't entered the things. They haven't even issued correspondences at the time. Things were accurate. And just did a big sigh.
You're getting to chemical ukuze ukuthi awutholanga imali
Figured it
epetrol.
out. I was like, there's nothing in it, but the
Bayithumele.
statement is between
That's all right. E-wallet on FNB. Because we've been talking about this now for a little while. I think it's not nice now.
basically that. Doesn't have everything. It's just that I can operate in my just I just want to have it so that I can put it through the TV and just walk. So I'm trying to just do doing my chemicals a day and I get home from here and I'm like, this is what I want to have. So here's the thing. The problem is I got to do classes. I just don't have classes to learn. So I'm going to be reading them around and then I'm like a friend to look at it like, no,
We are advised, Chairperson, Madam Commissioner, that we are now back online.
Thank you. Ms. Kruger,
Thank you,
please
Madam
let
Chair.
me remind you about our earlier discussion about the kind of evidence that we need to be led before us. Let us not stray out of our mandate. You may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to repeat the question, the final question before we lost contact. I do apologize for that. Just because I'm not sure whether at what point we dropped, at what point we were dropped. My final question to Mr. Mwambo was whether you were separated from your wife when on the 15th of November when foreign nationals were separated from South Africans at Hofland.
Swali langu la mwisho ni kama wewe na mke wako muliwekwa kando wakati mlihamishwa kwenda Hofland. Yeye alikuwa kando na wewe ulikuwa kando ama mlienda pamoja?
Ya, tulienda pamoja.
We went together to Hofland.
Apologies, I allowed myself to be misunderstood. On the 15th of November, when you were being separated from South African citizens, I understand your wife is a South African citizen. Were you and she separated on that day?
Hiyo tarehe ya 15 wakati walikuwa wanatenganisha wa South Africa na wale hawajatoka South Africa, mulitenganishwa siku hiyo.
Yeye alikuwa hayupo pale.
By that time she was not living there.
Where was she living?
Alikuwa anaishi wapi?
Alikuwa yuko town hapa.
She was living in town around Big Time.
Thank you. Was there any indication before the 15th of November that you would have to leave Hofland?
Walikuwa wamewaambia eti mtahamia kutoka Hofland, mtahamia kwingine.
Kulikuwa kuna fununu kwamba wa South Africa wamewekewa vibanda vya kuishi, na sisi wageni ambao tulikuwepo walituambia tusiondoke kwa sababu kuna hela sasa tukupata. Tulikuwa walituahidi katika shike kundi. Na kwa hiyo zile alikuwa hatujapata, na wakati tunasubiria pale kwa kipindi kile ambacho kuna watu walikuwa wamepata waliondoka wengine, na wengine ambao wakupata wakaambia ni ambao hujapata msiondoke, msubirini hapa mpewe hata kitu chochote kitu cha kuanzia maisha.
For the South Africans, there was some rumors that for South Africans there was a place built for them, and for the foreigners they were going to get a compensation of 2,000 rand. So we were told to wait. There are some who received the 2,000 rand, and for us who had not received, were told to stay there and wait for it. So that's what we were waiting for.
Thank you, Mr. Mwambo. Madam Chair, I'm very aware of not wanting to waste the Commission's time. I would like to lead Mr. Mwambo briefly through some questions about Lindela, truly in summary form. With your permission, I do understand that that we do not have a lot of time. Madam Chair, I hope that I have not lost connection. Madam Chair, can you hear me? It appears we may have lost connection.
I think we are on. The other ones.
Hmm.
There's a connection issue. Yes. Can you unmute yourself?
Right. I'm gonna mute.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, don't unmute or don't mute. Okay. Sorry, did you say that I should mute or not mute?
Keep it open.
Keep it open.
Maybe if she's not going to get another final question, yeah.
Ms. Kruger, can you hear me now?
I can, Madam Chair. Apologies. Are you able to hear
Yes.
me?
Yes, there was a break in transmission. I think there was a break in transmission when I was trying to explicate that I'm not inclined to allow that line of examination as it is stricto sensu not relevant to our terms of reference.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In that case, I would like to pose just one more question to the witness, with your permission. Well, a question which is not related to Lindela.
Proceed to do so.
I would. Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Mbwambo, how would you say the fire has affected your life?
Bwana Mbwambo, unaweza sema huo moto, matokeo ya huo moto kwa maisha yako imekuwa vipi?
Matokeo ya moto inakuwa sisikii vizuri kabisa, kutokana tangu East South Africa sijawahi kukaa ndani kama hivi tangu nilipokuja South Africa. Na situation mbaya zaidi kinachonitia mawazo ni hali ya kuwa ndani kupoteza vitu.
Since I came to South Africa, I've never been in this condition before. It's really difficult. I lost all my documents. Now I have been arrested. I've been arrested here in Lindela for a long time. So it has been very difficult for me.
What have you lost through the fire?
Ulipoteza nini kwa huo moto?
Nilipoteza passport yangu, nikapoteza kama 1200 ilikuwa ni kodi ya ulipi na kile kilichobaki
I lost everything. I lost money, about 4,000 rand. In that 4,000, 1,200 was for my rent, and the balance of that was mine. So I lost everything, including my passport.
I'm very sorry to hear that. It is very awful. It's awful that you have had to go through this, Mr. Mbwambo. But thank you very much for giving us your testimony.
Pole sana kwa yale yalitendeka, na asante sana kwa kutupatia ushuhuda.
Asante.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I have no further questions for this witness.
Advocate Minya.
Safe, Mr. Mbwambo, to say that we regret the losses suffered of friends and people you knew in these tragic circumstances. Madam Chair, we have no further questions.
Thank you, Advocate Minya. Mr. Mnyandu.
Madam Chair, we do not have any questions to pose to the
Thank
witness.
you. Mr. Sitole.
Thank you, Chair. We have no questions for
Thank
this
you.
witness.
Thank you. Ms. Kruger, do you wish to have Mr. Mbwambo's statement admitted into the record as an exhibit?
Indeed, Madam Chair, thank you. I would like to request that Mr. Mbwambo's witness statement be admitted into the record as exhibit NRF 14, please.
Admitted. Mr. Mbwambo, we thank you for having made yourself available to give evidence before this commission. Your evidence is appreciated.
Bwana Mbwambo, tumeshukuru sana kwa ushuhuda wako hapa kwenye hii commissioner. Asante sana.
Asante.
Thank you too.
You may step down as a witness, sir.
Chairperson, Madam Commissioner, as I understand, we are done with the oral evidence and particularly the virtual hearing that we have had with the two witnesses.
Yes.
Time permitting, there are few statements that we may need to read into the record. Those relate to some of the statements which are in your file, Chairperson, Madam Commissioner. I see my learned colleague is now back. Whether she intends to read those into the record or Ms. Kruger will continue from whence she is.
Ms. O'Brien, I see you are here now.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I had been excused by the attorneys to attend another matter in the High Court.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I'm advised that yesterday an affidavit rather, was handed up to this commission of a witness who could not appear in person, that it appears in the file as 38A. It is the witness statement of Justin Time. Madam Chair, if I may be permitted to read Mr. Time's statement into the record with simply the caveat of, for the process of the broadcast, simply to anonymize certain sensitive information that does appear
Yes.
on file. Thank
Yes.
you. If I may begin, Madam Chair.
You may begin, Ms. O'Brien.
Thank you. I, the undersigned Justin Time, do hereby state under oath that I am an adult male from Malawi, born on the 1st of January 2000, presently residing on, and I'm redacting the address, in Johannesburg. I'm authorized to depose to this affidavit and do so in my capacity as a member of the Johannesburg Fire Victim Support Group. The contents of the affidavit are, to the best of my knowledge, and believed to be true and correct, unless the context indicates otherwise. Where I make submissions based on law, I do so on the advice of my legal representatives. Background information. I arrived in South Africa in 2017. When I first arrived, I lived in Jeppe Street. In or around February or March 2017, I moved to the Usindiso building at 80 Albert and Delver Street, the building. I moved to Usindiso with my father, mother, older brother, and younger brother. We lived in a room on the first floor. Our room on the first floor was made of bricks. I paid rent to a South African woman. I paid 1,800 Rand a month towards rental. The conditions of the building were bad. I had to use a tap from a sink in one of the toilet rooms in the passage on the first floor. There was electricity in the building, but we used illegal connections. My family and I had to use a basin to wash our bodies. The condition of the building had worsened after COVID-19. Before COVID-19, the building was relatively safe. However, with the influx of foreign nationals from elsewhere in Africa, they often brought drugs into the building and the building became unsafe. Narrative of the night of the fire. On the night of the fire, there was load shedding, and the electricity turned off at 6 o'clock and was supposed to return at 8 o'clock. The electricity returned momentarily at 8 and then left again. The fire started around 1 a.m. I was asleep at the time, and so was the rest of my family. I woke up to people screaming that there was a fire, but by the time my family and I woke up, we had no opportunity to get out. My father opened the door, and we saw fire coming towards our room. My father took my younger brother and tried to exit the building, but he did not know which side the fire was coming from. And both he and my younger brother burned to death in the fire. My mother and older brother also tried to escape from the fire, but both of them fell in the passage on the first floor. Because it was dark and there was a lot of smoke, they could not see. My mother and my older brother died from smoke inhalation. I remained in the room, and I was rescued by a firefighter who used a hammer to break the door down. The firefighter carried me to safety, as I was too weak to walk at the time, and I was suffering from smoke inhalation. The firefighter took me to the entrance on Albert and Delver Street, and that is how I exited the building. I was then given an injection by the paramedics and started coughing up soot. I was taken by an ambulance to the South Rand Hospital to receive medical treatment. I only received medical treatment on the second day of being admitted to hospital. I was discharged on 4 September 2023. Cause of the fire. I do not know.
Sorry.
Yes.
Chair, again, not to interrupt. Let's have an opportunity to have this translated for non-English speaking individuals in there.
My apologies.
Do we have any translators in the room? Mr. Siminya?
We may complete the statement, and in due course we'll ask somebody to.
Since we've started with this statement, let us complete the statement, and then the translators, the interpreters will be located for other statements.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Cause of the fire. I do not know what caused the fire, as I was asleep when it started. Since the night of the fire, there have been 3 instances where I've been detained by police officers and asked to pay bribes in order to be released. The first time, I was stopped by members of the Johannesburg Metropolitan Police Department at Eliza Park and asked whether I had any documents. I explained to Officer X that I was a victim of the Usindiso shelter fire and that my passport had burned. I was placed in a van and taken to Hillbrow Police Station. I was charged, but then told if I paid a bribe of 800 Rand to Officer X, I would be released. One of the social workers who had assisted victims in the fire paid Officer X and I was released. The second occasion was on my way to work, where I was stopped by members of the South African Police Service and asked whether I had documents. I explained to the officers that I was a victim of the Usindiso shelter fire and that my passport had burned in the fire. They told me that I was a foreigner and that it did not matter that my documents burned. I was told I was being disrespectful and was forced into the police van and again taken to Hillbrow Police Station. I was again asked to pay 800 Rand. I then asked to make a phone call. I called the same social worker and he asked to speak to the police officer. After their conversation, the police officer released me. On the third occasion, I was again found by men working with police in Eliza Park. I ran. I was chased by the men and they eventually chased me in the direction of a police van. I was placed in the van and taken to Hillbrow Police Station. I was left inside the van until 6 o'clock that day, and then the police officers drove me and dropped me off near Jeppe Police Station. I then walked from Jeppe to town. Losses as a result of the fire. I lost my father, mother, older brother, and younger brother in the fire. I lost all my belongings, including stock from my business. At the time of the fire, I was selling clothes and shoes. While I was in hospital, people came and stole what was left in my room after the fire. I only managed to recover my fridge. I received a 4,000 Rand donation from the Red Cross. I did not use that money, but rather sent the money home to support my other younger siblings who are in Malawi. That is the end of statement, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I believe that is the only statement we are reading in today for the witness who was meant to appear yesterday. But I will advise Advocate Semenya if we have any more in due course.
Yes. What exhibit number should we allocate to this statement?
If this statement may be admitted as Exhibit NRF 15, Madam Chair.
Yes, the disturbing statement of Justin Fine is admitted into the record as Exhibit NRF 15.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Chairperson, there may be no gainful purpose to proceed today because we still require an interpreter and they may have been excused.
Yes.
Shall we ask for the matter to stand down?
Are we standing down or
For tomorrow.
adjourning?
Adjourning until tomorrow.
Are we expecting to hear oral evidence tomorrow?
We are advised there are 4 witnesses who are still to give oral evidence. We will deal with those tomorrow.
Okay. These proceedings are adjourned until tomorrow at 10 o'clock.